Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you want to take your shooting experience to the next level, then check out Coltac gear for 100% made in America products. Coltac manufactures specialty gear designed for long-range shooting, hunting, and other tactical applications. From their support bags, suppressor covers, shooting mats, and a whole lot more, Coltac is creating tough, durable, and innovative gear for both civilian and professional markets. Go to coltac.com to see all that they have to offer. That's cole-tac.com. If you are looking to get a new rifle or build your own, look no further than Kelbly'S. Kelbly'S actions and rifles have a higher level of accuracy and hold 92 world records set on either one of their rifles or rifle actions. Whether you're looking for an ultralight mountain rifle or wanting to compete in precision rifle shooting, Kelbly'S has you covered. Go to kelbly.com to find out more or give them a call as their customer service is the best. That's KELBLY.com. Kelbly'S. If you're looking to take your hunting to another level, there's no better way to do it than by subscribing to onX Hunt. If you want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, onX is the #1 GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust onX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. If you want to know more about onX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt or download their app today for a free trial. If you are wanting to become more accurate and deadly with your shooting, one of the best things you can do is upgrade your trigger with a Timney. Timney triggers are 100% made in America and have been since their founding, providing a crisp, reliable, and repeatable trigger break every time. I'll be shooting Timney triggers in my guns this year, and I hope you'll join me in shooting the world's finest trigger. Go to timneytriggers.com to get yours today. And we're live from SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Nevada, 2025. We're doing an ultimate collaboration here of Soul Seekers and Hornady Manufacturing. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable.
Always.
Just like the Hornady podcast. And we got Preston and Seth and somebody on a microphone down below. So
it's SHOT Show. What are you going to do, man? That's what makes it SHOT Show, right? The people, the noise, the vibe. It's part of it. And we're rocking and rolling. Got Flatland Sam. We got the boys. The boys are back in town. Yeah, they played a song about us.
I freaking love it. Anyways, guys, if you are listening to this podcast, hopefully you've experienced and gone and checked out the Hornady podcast if you want to know anything about becoming a better shooter, ammunition, firearms, all that, because, you know, they're professionals. I'm a school teacher that hangs out on the weekends. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to this episode. But, boys, how's the show?
So far, so good. You know, SHOT Show is always one of those deals where you come into it like dreading it because it's such a marathon. It's a mental, emotional, and physical experience that just sucks you of your life over the course of the week. But when you get here, and you start seeing people that, oh, man, I haven't seen that guy. Remember we did that? And then you're having drinks, and you go out for meals, and you're running into people in the hallway, and you see all the people excited to get their hands on the new products that are on display here. It sucks you in, and next thing you know, it's like you got in a car wreck, and you're sitting there like, what just happened?
Right.
And all the people you meet and all the people you talk to. So it's actually going really, really well for us, and the Hornady booth's been super busy, and everyone excited about our new products.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that because I want to talk about that. But, Sam, this is your first SHOT Show.
Wow. Wow. Car wreck, perfect analogy.
Car wreck, train wreck.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, it's incredible.
I get to play a little tour guide to Sam. Like, obviously, he's been to Vegas before, but
yes, I have.
First SHOT Show, right? So, like, hey, get ready. And last year when I showed up my very first year by myself and I didn't have anyone to, hold my hand and let me mentor you. Ooh, there you go.
There you go.
Tie it into the mission statement. Let me mentor you on the ways of SHOT Show. I didn't even realize what I was getting into. It was wild. Anyways, from a consumer standpoint, it's refresh YouTube. Give me the reels, give me the clips.
Yeah.
What is out there? And so it's fun to,
be here and experience it. But like you said, it's a little bit of a hot mess at times.
Yeah, we talk negatively about it, but we all look forward to it at some degree. And, they keep us coming back every year, so you just as well enjoy it while you're here.
Right. You described it absolutely perfectly. Like, dread is a word, but then you start running into people that you forgot that you were going to run into, and it's like, holy crap, it's so good to see you guys. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, everybody, by the time this episode airs, I believe we'll have Season 5 launched on Carbon TV, which will be, episode 1 is going to be our Nebraska whitetail hunt, where we were up with Seth and Preston and getting to experience the ways of the whitetail up in Nebraska. That was an awesome hunt. Thank you so much for inviting us up. But
yeah, thanks for coming up. And it's convenient, too, that, I'm going to say a relatively short drive. It's a 10-hour drive to get there, but it's a doable drive in a day, and you can take home the meat with you, take home your trophy with you. So it was made it a lot easier than flying for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When I went back and started editing all the clips and the episode, Sam filmed me walking up on this buck, and I'm like, whoa, this is big. And I'm talking on camera. I'm not even talking about the antlers. I'm literally talking about the size of the body of this deer. And I'm like, holy smokes. So we got it all taken care of. I took that heart back home to Texas. So Texas deer heart, size of my fist. That whitetail was like 3 of my fists, heart side by side. And I was blown away.
Yeah.
It's a hardy animal.
Dude, super impressive.
Yeah.
How did you prepare it? I got to ask.
Hold on.
Yeah, you set me up. I thought somebody was going to say it, but all jokes aside, they are a hardy animal, and they have to be in the area that we live. But how did you prepare it?
Yeah, I'm
Dude,
curious.
I haven't eaten it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Sam, you like to eat the heart first thing.
First thing.
Yeah, that's what we do in deer
You
camp.
don't freeze a heart.
Yeah. Never. I have, and it's just not the same.
Yeah. Well,
we weren't going to cook that thing up in the Slim Shady Motel either.
No. I mean, that was the thing. It's like, it's getting frozen and it's going home. But
no, that's all right. I feel like tenderloin can have the opposite effect, right? If you eat that too fast, it's tough, right? You kind of have to let that tenderloin relax. Right. That heart, what we do at our deer camp, I've been going to opening weekend over half of my life, which is weird to say since I've been a 15-year-old boy. We'll put it in country bobs in a gallon bag in slices and a little bit of maybe Worcestershire sauce. I don't know if I said that right.
Worcestershire.
Yeah, whatever you said.
Yeah.
And then we'll just grill it up on they got a green egg. They take a green egg. We take a Traeger, just making sure it's rare.
Yeah.
And that country bobs is a little sweet.
Yep.
That
Country
heart
bobs.
is good.
Man,
is that what they had at the
That's what they had
at the Hojo, of course.
Yeah,
that
Hojo,
was
that's
good.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet it is great on
It's
heart.
a good sauce.
Yeah. All right,
Pieces
so
and marinade.
that was my first deer camp. Now, I've gone hunting and camped, but that's not a deer camp.
No. I feel like, there's something special about a hunting camp where you just get a bunch of good dudes gathered around, and there's a place and there's a spot in your brain that has an itch that needs scratched to go on an adventure and hike in somewhere and camp in a tent. But then there's also a place to get a bunch of good people together. It's not a super strenuous hunt. The food's good. The camaraderie's good. The after hours, the having drinks after everything's done is good, and it's just a camaraderie that you can't replace.
Right.
And it's contagious.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So, pitch. So all you listeners out there, have you ever heard of the game called pitch? I never have. Have you?
Oh yeah.
So is that a Nebraska thing?
Not that I'm aware of.
So what state or region did you learn that game in?
Well, I've only ever been in Nebraska, so Nebraska.
Yeah.
But there's different variations of pitch too, right? So if they were playing 4-point pitch in that town, I always played 5-point pitch in my town. When we were in high school, the girls would want to play 10-point pitch. That was too slow and boring for me. But there's all different variations of it. But I bet it's a Midwest thing. But I don't know. Let us know. Is it on the coast?
Yeah, I'd be super interested.
Well, and it might be a Midwest thing, or simply because of the weather, right? So you go back before social media, before card games was the thing. Like my grandparents gathered weekly and all their friends in town would come out and
Well, that was their social media.
that was their
That's
thing.
exactly
so,
right.
But think about in the wintertime when it's super cold, you got feet of snow packed up out there. It gets dark at 5 p.m. Maybe that was the social thing at the time. I don't know.
Did you ever play card games like growing up?
Yeah.
What were the games you played?
Gym rummy, stuff like that.
Yeah. Gin rummy's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but if you don't have a pencil and paper handy,
Yeah. Phase 10. We always played Phase 10 as a kid.
I grew up
enjoyed
playing
it.
13. You ever heard of it?
I think so.
I think I have.
I felt like it was similar to like a pitch style,
Yeah.
but I don't even know how to play. It's been so long.
Yep.
But yeah, 13 is what I played.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I mean, even in high school, like, we didn't have smartphones, right? So when we were on a bus for a long time, we'd play pitch.
Yeah. Dude, that's so funny. I love it.
But the small town aspect of where I don't know where you're going with the story, but you go to this small town diner. It's a town of less than 200 people. They have a diner that serves the county. There's no other place to eat. And every single day, the local farmers gather to eat the daily special for lunch, whatever it is, at 11:30, and then they play pitch.
I did love that.
Yeah.
Where I was going with that was just the idea of deer camp,
Oh, sure.
right? Like
Mhm.
we're hanging out. That's a deer camp tradition, pitch, right? Like when I come back up to Nebraska, we'll play pitch. We'll figure it out.
Heck yeah.
Dude, I had no idea. Still don't know how to play that game.
You
were
faked
just-
it really well.
We were just winging it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was looking at Sam, and like there's instincts to that game. Like you kind of, well, I don't know. Maybe you guys don't know because you grew up with it, but Sam and I instinctually is like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is what I should be playing and laying it down. But
Right.
Sam said he caught Marv looking at him a couple times, like,
Oh, I did
Dog.
that to Sam, too.
Yeah. That was the best part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, but that 300 PRC, which, tell me, is that a little overkill for bringing it to
Much overkill.
Midwest
Yep.
whitetails? It was what I had.
100%.
Works great.
And obviously, if you guys are listening and haven't,
Seen the
check that episode out because that is a dramatic incapacitation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Insta-kill.
Extremely effective.
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly was.
Yeah, that was. So did you know that was my first time ever shooting magnums?
Okay.
So I am a novice, inexperienced when it comes to really hunting and shooting, and so I bought short actions. AR-10 platform was my very first hunting rifle
Okay.
in .308
Nothing wrong with that.
because I'm a Second Amendment promoter, believer. AR-15, oh, dude, AR-10s, hell yeah!
Yeah, of course.
Let's go. I don't care if it weighs 12 pounds or 15 pounds. I'm going to carry that thing around, especially in the mountains. But with that being said, is I enjoyed shooting my guns, and short actions was something that is like, I want to shoot.
Right.
And you look at these Magnum cartridges and the prices of the rounds and all that
Recoil.
stuff. Recoil. Like, yeah, I'll stick with short actions. But this year, I grew a pair of balls and became a man, and I got into the PRCs. I really liked it.
And
There's
it's
something
not that bad, is it?
No.
The
No.
300 PRC doesn't kick as bad as you might think it does.
Yeah,
when you're suppressed, of course.
yeah, absolutely shooting suppressed. Highly recommend that. But when was your first time shooting a long action or a Magnum?
Mine was when I started at Hornady. I grew up shooting a 270. That's what I shot for eons.
Yeah.
But when I first got into tech, it was before the 300 PRC was a thing. I started with a 300 Win Mag.
Mm.
Same thing. I grew up shooting short action, standard bolt face stuff. Shot that exclusively until I started at Hornady and built a Hot Rod 7 mag.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Which then led into you also being a part of the 7 PRC.
Yeah. It sparked a fire to say the least. But yeah, we were playing around with those around the same time.
Yep, that's right. Well, we went on a hunt together with them for antelope.
Yep.
It's our first Western
Adventure,
hunt
really.
at all. First antelope hunt for us. He took a 7 mag, I took a 300 Win Mag, which both are overkill for antelope, but we wanted to be able to stretch the legs if we needed to because we thought we were awesome.
You are awesome.
And now I
I would concur. You are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we laid down 2 public land goats on
Yeah.
our first day.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was a
And I've
great
been
success.
hooked on antelope hunting ever since.
Was that in Nebraska?
No, that was in Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Yep.
Dude, awesome. What about you, Sam? When was the first time you shot Magnum?
I had to think about it for a minute. First buck was with a 30-06.
America.
Not a Magnum.
Freedom.
But my first Magnum was going to be a 7mm.
Okay.
Rim mag, yeah.
So when I was in college, I had a buddy. So yeah, hear me out, guys. Like work with me. First gun, Marlin Model 60, 22 long rifle.
Of course.
Okay.
That's what I grew up shooting rabbits with my whole life. Raccoons in high school.
Freaking love that gun.
Shot the crap out of it. Never cleaned it.
Same. I feel bad now, like looking at it, like I wish I would have taken better care of that, but still have it. It's got some rust pit marks on it and all that, but we'll cover that later. Got into a shotgun was my next firearm. So, but I'd always go squirrel hunt. Well, I call it squirrel hunting. I wasn't a hunter. No one taught me shooting. No one taught me hunting. But I lived in an area where you could drive up into the hills illegally, I guess, is really...
As it turns out.
As it turns out. This is, not knowing. Ignorance is bliss, apparently. And I go shoot chipmunks.
Statute of limitations is up on it. Don't even look into it.
Okay, good. I got nervous there for a second. And I had a guy who I took with, and he brought his 30-06, and he goes, "Here, man, shoot this." And going from a 22 long rifle to a 30-06 wood stock, I hit that, and bam! And I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll go back to that 22.
Yeah, so that was my experience in guns. Next step into that was AR-15.
Right.
Easy, gentle shooting.
Yep.
AR-10, more kick, but still, spring system. And then 6.5 Creedmoor was my first bolt action gun. And so it was really interesting. It doesn't seem like you guys have been in the game for how long? How long have you been shooting or hunting or?
Forever.
Since I was 10.
Yeah, since
my whole life.
I could shoot a gun.
Yeah.
So here I was 6.5 Creedmoor, man bun, hippie. They don't
bleed more.
Yeah, the bleed more. And I'm like, dude, it just happened to be 6.5 Creedmoor came out either the year or the year after or year prior to me buying my first bolt action gun. And I was like, well, it's either a 308 or 6.5, or I was actually looking at 7 mm08.
Oh yeah, great cartridge.
Was also what I was looking at, but so I've gone on this journey, and it's really fascinating now being here at SHOT Show, and you guys offer so many different varieties.
Yeah,
so,
the catalog is huge.
The catalog's huge. We recorded with Tyler Friel this week.
Awesome.
And so got to talk about him shooting grizzly bears and moose with 22 arc and different things like that. And there's a lot of information that can water hose people.
Sure.
I read on a forum and everyone blasted this guy for, you can't kill animals with 6.5 Creedmoor, but it's the bleed more. But yet at the same time, there's a lot of minutia.
Right.
When somebody's getting into hunting, not a kid, an adult, what would you recommend them starting with?
What kind of hunting, I guess? What's the biggest animal we're talking?
Big game. Let's say deer.
Deer?
6.5 Creedmoor.
6.5 Creedmoor.
What do you think,
It's the
Sam?
go-to. That or 308. I mean, I'm a 30 cal guy. I like them.
Yeah.
I like 6.5s too, 6 mils, but 6.5 or 308 can't go wrong.
I've never had any issues with 6.5.
No,
Me neither.
Yeah, we've killed. At Hornady, just the employees, just in the office, the annual total of animals taken with the 6.5 Creedmoor effectively is huge. And we just, the people that have the problems, it's unfortunate if they legitimately have a problem, but we just don't see it. We don't experience it.
Yeah.
You kill an animal, shot placement, that's a big one. And you choose the right bullet for the job. You do those two things, man, you kill them with anything. But the 6.5 Creedmoor is so balanced, so capable, low recoil, easy to shoot, great barrel life. Accurate as the day is long. You just don't need a ton more than that.
That's fascinating. What you guys work for Hornady, so you're a little biased because
of course
Hornady created
Very
that.
biased.
Yeah, very biased. But why does it get so much hate?
People love to hate things.
because you should have a license to type on the internet. But
Yeah.
no, in all seriousness, it's like it became so popular so fast, which is funny because it became popular 10 years after it was introduced.
Right.
Like, it took a very long time for it to become popular, and then all of a sudden, everybody had one.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I think it's really similar to Mustang, a Ford Mustang, or a Chevy Camaro. There are groups that just despise the Ford Mustang, but it's a sports car, and it's got some bolt-on parts, so you may go pretty fast. Same thing with the Camaro, but there's big groups of people that dislike that simply because everybody's got a Mustang or everybody's got a Camaro.
They hate it because
It's mainstream.
it's mainstream,
Yeah.
and they have to go against. They can't. Oh, everyone likes it. I have to go take a stance on something else. That's interesting.
yeah.
Does Nebraska have a caliber restriction?
We do.
Yep.
For centerfire rifle, it's 22 cal and larger, but that 22 cal has to have 900 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards. So your standard 55 grain 223 load doesn't cut it. You got to have a heavier bullet or hand load, something heavier than, say, 62 or heavier.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
Interesting,
22
yeah.
Creed, 22 250, stuff like that is legal.
Yeah. What was your first caliber that you were shooting?
My very first caliber.
Well, I mean, yeah. What were you mainstream like hunting gun?
I killed my first buck with a 30-06. Beyond that, it was probably 270 quite a bit for a while, just because of the versatility of it.
Yeah.
But then when I got into extended range hunting and cutting my teeth with long range shooting, it was 6.5 PRC. That was like, it had just dropped. That was the thing. Read the specs, and I was like, no, I'm in. My dad had a custom gun built in it. Shot his Alamo a few times, and I was like, no, I'm sold. Like, this is it. It gives me everything I needed, and so. Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I was talking when the conversation with Tyler. I love what he does. If hate him or love him,
Yeah.
he's delivering information
Absolutely.
and he's proven points.
Yep.
Right. And so we talked a little bit about like shot placement, like where I high shouldered that deer, and it collapsed. There's no blood trailing. I knew where that animal died at.
Right.
Beautiful. And then he's shooting giant animals. I was like, "Are you high shouldering?" He's like, "No, I like to double lung every time." That are you guys aiming at different spots based off your calibers?
Yes.
Or okay, explain that.
Yeah. Well, calibers and bullet, and what the animal's doing and where the animal's at. Prime example. In our deer camp,
Yep.
I shot a deer while you guys were there, and 409 yards, 5 yards away, 6 yards away from jumping onto the neighbor's property.
The border. Yeah.
I put that thing on the high shoulder, and he died where he stood. No
Yeah.
tracking necessary. Now, if I was shooting something a little more robust, say like an elk or something like that, depending on my bullet selection, I might lay off the shoulder. Sometimes if I'm on open ground or on private property or if we're in the middle of the public ground, I'll punch it through the shoulder every time because that's just my style. Preston, as an archer, he's slipping him right behind the shoulder.
I still have trouble with that because I do like to high shoulder things, and I've done it a couple of times, but I have to remind myself to do it because instinctually I'll put it behind the shoulder. But for me, it's bullet selection more than anything. Yes, the property lines make a big deal too, but if I have a CX, I feel real comfortable taking a very hard quartering to shot, whereas with an ELDX, I'd rather have a quite broadside shot. So it depends on the bullet I'm shooting more than anything, in my opinion.
Okay, break that down more because that's interesting. So you're like, okay, I'm going to take a hard quartering to shot with a CX because it's solid copper, and I have that penetration, weight retention. But that doesn't mean you can't shoot it broadside also,
Right.
or like.
Absolutely.
So why would I choose one versus the other?
Well, and for my uses, ELDX has been my go-to for everything. My wife has used the CX a little bit on a cow elk, and that performed flawlessly on a broadside shot. But picture an elk hard quartering towards you. If it's broadside, that shoulder blade bone is like this. with a ridge in the middle, right?
Yep.
So on both sides of that ridge, you just have a shoulder blade. But if you turn that and angle
you got to
it toward
push
you,
all the way through
you
that.
got to go all the way through that thing. So a little bit more robust bullet is the way I'd like to go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you're hunting elk, are you choosing CX?
Likely. With elk, and I've not done a ton of elk hunting, but I want to break them down. And I'm going to try to put a hole through 2 shoulder blades and break them down, and they will suck bullets up, so you just keep sending them. But I would start with right through the shoulders. And then after that, yeah, you might move to maybe a little bit lower, try to get, cut the top off of the heart and hit the lungs. But my first shot in an elk is going to be through the shoulders to try to break them down, because they can go a long way with a hole in their lungs, especially if you only hit one lung. So with the elk, I'm going CX, given that that makes sense. And with our new CX offerings in 300 PRC, in 7 PRC, in 6.5 PRC, traditionally you had to sacrifice some range on your hunting limitations based on how much velocity is required to open the bullet up and how far away you can accurately shoot them. Well, with our new CXs, specifically in the PRCs, you're not really sacrificing any range performance. You got plenty of accuracy, great in the wind. So yeah, a 160 CX and a 7mm right through the shoulders of an elk, that would be my preferred combination.
Interesting. You same thing?
It depends. I mean, we went hunting in Colorado 2 years ago, and I took an ELDX, but I wasn't real familiar with the ground, had never been there. We went in blind, and I didn't know what the terrain was going to be like. So like Seth was talking about, the CX has a little bit more range limitation than the high BC ELDX. So I wanted to make sure that I could stretch it out if I needed to. While saying that, I needed to be more careful on my shot selection. And unfortunately, the only bull we saw was the day before the season opened.
But it would have been perfect, honestly. So he talked about, he chose that bullet because he didn't know the terrain. And the ELDX afforded him the ability to see an elk at 60 yards or 660 yards and use full confidence here. And when we found that bull when we were scouting the day before season opened, he was at 700 and
like
change.
720.
720. Now that's a poke, but there would have been really no getting closer to that bull. Had that been opening day, the further we got closer, the worse the shot would have been until we couldn't see him anymore.
We were
cliffed out, so it would have been a pretty dangerous descension, and he was up on the other side. So in that scenario, had we been opening day, he's legal beagle, and the wind conditions were right, he would have been able to make that shot and not have to worry about.
It is so sickening.
Yeah.
Dude, it's brutal.
It was. Like we got phone scope pictures of them and everything, or mag view, whatever we use, but holy cow, I still go back through my photos every now and again and I see that bull and I'm like, the one that got away.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the average hunter who isn't necessarily doing all this research and really understanding it, and they're just going to the store and being like, that's my caliber, I'll take it?
Yep.
Like, is that hard as an ammo manufacturer to see that, or do you guys prepare for that and hope that your buyer's a little more educated, or how do you address that?
We tried to do a good job of education on the box, because yes, we put out a lot of podcasts and a lot of stuff on the internet that just people might not see. So literally the naming of the ammo line comes into play as far as education. Like we have American whitetail, that's kind of indicating that this is going to be a good deer round, right? Yeah, you could take an elk with it, but this is an awesome, mid-range to short-range deer round.
Yeah.
Precision hunter, we're kind of telling you this can stretch the legs if you need to, but it can also perform well close. So we do things like that to try and educate literally at the shelf.
Interesting. What about your outfitter line? Like,
yeah. And just like Preston mentioned, the branding there, the outfitter, and with the compass rose that's on there, and the topo lines on the box, trying to educate the consumer at the point of purchase. We put out a ton of media, but the outfitter was we wanted to select a name that would elicit those feelings of like an aspirational hunt. It's not, I would say the overwhelming majority of people aren't hunting with an outfitter, and you might save up and I'm finally going on a moose hunt. And generally, you have to have an outfitter if you're going to Canada or something or Alaska to go on a moose hunt. So we wanted that to be, this ammo is anywhere in the world, rugged, waterproof, loaded with a bullet that when the outfitter says take that shot, you don't have to think twice about can I get through that shoulder blade, right? Because it's loaded with the CX bullets. So yeah, we try to do a lot of naming appropriately, like with the outfitter, where that is just a no questions asked. You can take that anywhere in the world. Like we nickel plate the cases, we waterproof it on both ends, put a really solid CX bullet in there, and it's accurate and temperature stable.
Does waterproofing have any issue on the actual shooting of it?
None whatsoever.
No. Then why aren't all things waterproof? Just because
money and necessity.
Expense.
It's generally not necessary. Like you'd have to have your rounds submerged for a while.
Yeah. Like you're rafting to a spot and you're.
But if you're on a hunt for a week and it rains every day, which is that happens in Alaska, we wanted to just go that extra step that when you buy it, it's a premium product. You pay a premium for it. Well, we don't ever want you to think that this isn't going to deliver when the time comes.
Interesting. So this last year was with you at the 22 Creedmoor dinner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to actually shoot that this year. Haven't killed anything with it yet. I fell in love with that round. Like it's special. Now I haven't shot 22 arc.
Okay.
Or 6 arc or any of that, but dude, if I'm a father and I have kids and I want to get them that first hunting rifle, we live in a state where there's no caliber restrictions. That's what I think I would instantly go to.
No recoil and speed kills.
It was funny when I took Johnny out and we shot it at the range and got it dialed in at 100 and then slipped down to the long range stage. And, Johnny was like, all right, what are we going to shoot this thing at? And I was like, 400. Dialed his dope, got him on the gun, first round impact. And he just
probably
looked.
didn't have to dial very much either.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
one and a half,
he
maybe,
looked
1.4.
at me and he goes, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I will say, like, when you guys are innovating with calibers specifically or rounds, cartridges, you have the ability to hook somebody instantly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, whoa, like instant smile.
Yep.
Just, this is what it's all about.
The Hornady's
That's like the
always
story
say,
of the 17 HMR.
Yeah, Hornady
Yes.
say we sell fun.
We do, and we've talked about the 17 HMR a lot before, but essentially it was a pet project of Dave Emery, our senior ballistician. Steve Hornady got wind of it and said, hey, quit messing around with this, right? Eventually, Dave, of course, kept messing around with it, and a while later, he got a gun built, and he said, hey, you have to come shoot it. And so he shot it at 100 yards down in our indoor tunnel, shot a group, and said, I get it. Let's do it.
Yeah, some things just make sense.
Yep.
From what I understand, that was kind of a leap of faith, too.
Yeah, I mean, with something we'd never done before.
Yeah.
And then just wildfire.
So when it came, you guys you're leading innovation, it feels like, across the industry with your cartridge selections, and everyone else is having to chamber stuff in your calibers.
Right.
You're new with stuff that you come out, 22 arc, 6 arc.
Yep.
6 GT.
6 GT that you're now like
Commercially available, yeah.
talk about it. Like, is a guy, no one's really making from my perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, no one's really like chambering a bunch of factory hunting rifles in 6 GT.
No.
But it would be badass if they were.
Yeah, I honestly think give it time.
Really?
Personally, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about these calibers. Break it down for us. Like,
well, we try not to develop a cartridge just because, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of cartridge introductions over the last decade that were like, what problem does this solve? And the answer is that it didn't solve anything. There was no existing problem that it solved, and so those cartridges generally fail. Or they partially solved a problem, but they didn't do it completely, and that left an even bigger void. And so we try to develop a cartridge that's going to like solidify its place in the market because of the necessity. And The 22 ARC's a great example. There's plenty of high-performance 22 caliber cartridges out there. None of them that are this holistically well-designed that fit, feed, and function from an AR-15 and can support the bullets that we shoot and are accurate and have good aftermarket availability of guns and barrels and ammo. And so that legitimately gives you 22-250 performance from an AR-15. And so, I mean, that right there, that's a problem solver. Same thing
freedom.
With our PRC line. Every single one of those PRCs owes its existence to a pre-existing cartridge. For example, you mentioned the 6.5 PRC, Sam. For years, the long-range shooting community shot a 6.5 284, juiced to the gills, loaded well over SAMI pressure, loaded with bullets that exceed SAMI length, with custom twist rates, and it was awesome. That performance is awesome. The 6.5 284 with a 140 grain bullet running about 57 grains of Rotumbo, going to push that bullet about 3,000 feet per second. Great performance, but you have to do everything custom to get that. So there was a vacuum. Like, I can't do all the custom stuff, but I want that performance. Well, 6.5 PRC gives you that performance in a buttoned-up package where you can go to the store, buy factory ammo with a factory rifle, and get that level of performance. So our cartridge lines and the development of the cartridges are to solve problems, and I think that's why they've been so successful, is that they do that. They do it very eloquently, and then we involve the entire industry when we do it, Preston. I don't know, what that sum it up?
And to add on to that, the 6.5 284, yes, it's great, but you did mention a few problems and forgot a few problems too. It's great, but the 6.5 PRC does it in a factory option, both as far as ammo goes and rifles, but it solves the problems that it had. Yes, they might be minuscule, but for example, it's a rebated rim, and there was some confusion when it got SAMI standardized. So we just cleaned the slate and took care of those problems while giving everybody the factory options that you didn't have with the 6.5 284.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for every cartridge, really. 6mm ARC, that came out of necessity, right? Turns out it's an absolutely fantastic cartridge, and you can kind of tell when we release or about to release a new cartridge. You can tell if everybody's like jonesing to get a barrel and build one of these things
in the office. You walk up and down the hallway.
It's going to be a hit.
Really?
That's true. That's a true thing.
Yeah.
When you're walking, I call it the hallway. Hornady has this big hallway where a lot of the director and manager level offices are. Jason Hornady's office, and then you get into sales and marketing area. When everyone in our office is building guns before the launch, it's going to be a home run.
Dude, that's awesome.
That happened with the 6 ARC. It happened with the 22 ARC. The 7 PRC was like, that was instant.
Everybody in the office had a 7 PRC before it was announced. It was crazy.
Dude,
That's awesome.
I love that. Okay, so 6 ARC, 22 ARC.
Mm-hmm.
Both AR platforms?
Yep.
Why 6 ARC versus 22? Like, why would one person want to go one versus the other? Obviously, caliber restrictions.
Calibers, yeah.
But
Caliber restriction is one. I kind of see the 6 ARC. If you're going as far as like medium game hunting, personally, I think it delivers a little bit more authority when you're talking about deer, black bear, stuff like that. 22 ARC, personally, I see a little bit more as a varmint cartridge. It's a little bit flatter, probably equal in the wind, but I think there's two different categories when you switch from I know it sounds minuscule, but it's a 19 thousandths bullet diameter difference, but I think it makes quite a bit of difference in my opinion.
I think the answer is hot, nasty speed.
yeah,
you better have both.
Yeah, but he's exactly right. It's like a inverse Venn diagram where the 6mm is primarily awesome for the deer and the antelope guy that occasionally does coyotes and prairie dogs, and the 22 ARC is great for the primarily coyote and prairie dog guy that occasionally does deer and antelope.
Yep.
You can do a lot with the 22 ARC.
That's a great way to describe
But yeah, it's like they're very similar, just slightly different.
Yeah. Okay, so not throwing other companies under the bus, but like, Browning came out with 6.8 Western.
Yeah, Browning and Winchester. Yep.
Browning and Winchester, 4 years ago? It was 2020? Is what?
I think so, close to.
So they get ready to launch. It's supposed to be a new hot round, and then from my consumer perspective, it flops, right? Like, don't hear people talking about it.
Right.
I'm not seeing it on the shelves. Like, what is Hornady doing differently that is setting you guys above and beyond that your calibers are succeeding?
This is a great example, and not throwing any shade at Winchester or Browning, because the cartridge, the 6.8 Western, external ballistically, internal, terminal performance, a very capable round, very well done. It's like a scaled up 6.5 PRC. And it's no trade secret about our throat dimensions. They kind of carbon copied what we do from a throat geometry standpoint. So the cartridge in and of itself is plumb fine and very, very effective and capable. I think the big difference is industry involvement. When we come to market with a new cartridge, I will buy, depending on the cartridge, 30 to 40 sets of reamers and gauges, and then mail them to these gun builders free of charge with test ammo. So we make it so incredibly easy for a gun builder to want to be involved.
Yep.
So for that reason, I think our cartridges stand the test of time better, because when you go to the store shelf to buy a 7 PRC, your options aren't just a Winchester or a Browning rifle. It's Browning and Seekins and Aero Precision and Remington, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on, because we involve everybody as best we can.
Dude, success. You see, like, there you go. There's your model.
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
not. I mean, it's not a secret. I think that's
Easy to do business with.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, I love it. That was like, once again, from a novice standpoint, you're clear, your message is clear, and it makes sense. Like, now when I hear this podcast, I'm gonna be like, okay, I know what I want when I go to the store. You already said, if first deer gun, you're saying 6.5 Creedmoor because it just works.
Yep.
All that.
6.5 Creedmoor with the American Whitetail will do pretty much everything. I mean, you start getting into elk and stuff like that, you know, and you can always specialize, but if you're hunting deer, antelope, black bear, which is, I mean, deer is target number one in America. Throw in antelope and black bear, a 6.5 Creedmoor with American Whitetail, you can hunt your lifetime and never really be undergunned.
Yeah. What do you say to, I'm going to wait till this quiets down just a hair. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Huxworks. Shout out. They're a suppressor company meant to be quiet, and here they are being extra loud. Yes. Like, what's going on?
They should wear suppressors.
I have 3 6.5 Creedmoors. My thing is I don't want to have a bunch of different calibers.
Sure.
And so, you know, but now I look at it and it's like, I understand that a gun is a tool, and you can't do everything with a Phillips screwdriver. You can't do everything with a framer's hammer.
Yep.
Like, you need these specialized tools, and these different calibers really make a difference. So if you were gonna have a big game rifle, a deer rifle, show me your guns and calibers. A Magnum, your deer size, and then your smaller game. What are the 3 chamberings you're
Oh,
gonna go with?
man.
Why are you saying, oh, man?
I don't
I'm
like
gonna
being
cheat.
pigeonholed.
I'm going to say if I'm going elk hunting, it's going to be a 7 or a 300 PRC.
Okay.
If you made me pick one, if you made me, it'd be a 7. Deer's a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 6mm Creedmoor. Don't leave that one out, but probably 6.5. And small game is 22 arc all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to just sound like an echo chamber, but I've been a big proponent of the 7. Shameless plug. The 300, if your sole purpose is elk and moose, there is something magical about a big 30. Grizzly bear, obviously. But for me, the 7 PRC, with the bullet selection that we have now, I will shoot an elk, a moose, or a brown bear with my 7 PRC, and I'll sleep really well at night doing it. So for me, it would be 7 PRC. On the deer, I would definitely go 257 Roberts.
Yeah.
Or
Had to do it.
Yeah,
Isn't
I had
that
to
the
do it.
gun that you're
That's right.
that you grew up hunting
Yeah,
with?
yep. And then on the small side, I'd have a hard time picking between the arcs, but I'd probably have to pick the 22 arc.
Yeah.
I've killed a ton of stuff with it, to include some big game animals that I wouldn't normally have shot with a 22 caliber or anything, but we were on a mission to find the limits. So I've killed some big game with it, and obviously coyotes and prairie dogs have stacked them up. So I think I would go 7 PRC for North America. 7 PRC, 257 Roberts, and because if I was going on a deer hunt, like a western Nebraska mule deer hunt, I'll just take the 7 PRC if I have to airmail one, right? And then the 22 ARC for the little stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you know what calibers you go with?
Yeah. 7 PRC after testing it, shooting it, loading it. I mean, it gives me everything I need for big game. I like the big 30s. I mean, eventually I'll have me like a 300 Norma or something fun like that,
big.
you know. Just I like to shoot long range, you know.
Yeah.
A big 30, that's kind of a staple, but I'm going to have to go 7 with hunting. Mid-range, I'm a 6.5 guy, so 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC. That's kind of my go-to.
Yeah.
And then for small game, I've been trying something different this year, in which hogs aren't really considered small game.
Right.
But
Some of them are small.
I loaded up some 300 Blackout with I want to say it's the 110 CX.
Yeah, VMAX.
Yeah. CX. Yeah.
Oh, the 110 CX.
110
yeah.
CX. It's pretty darn good.
Yep.
I mean, I was getting complete pass-throughs with hogs, and
What speeds were you getting on that?
I honestly, I'd have to look at my charts, but it was like 25 range.
Okay.
You know, pretty spicy.
I used to load those when they were a GMX, and the powder I was using at the time, I had to compress it quite a bit to get as much in there as I could, and I was
Yeah.
just under 2,400
Yeah.
out of a 16-inch.
What are you picking,
Yeah.
Johnny?
I mean,
I appreciate that.
I enjoy it, and you know, I had a 300 Blackout upper and wanted to try some things, so I loaded some up, and I like them.
You got to
Yeah.
make me change my answer, though, because I forgot. I'm such a 6.5 PRC guy, because that's my go-to gun, right?
It is your go-to.
But it's an 18-incher, so it kind of acts like a Creedmoor,
Yep.
velocity-wise,
Yep.
but it carries like this little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I love it. I think there's a certain sex appeal. Seth asked me what my calibers were. I think 7 PRC has a sex appeal more than the 300. And
I could see
I
that.
don't know why. I can't, like,
Yeah, it's got the sports car vibe, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's got the speed.
It
got the bullet.
looks faster.
It looks fast when it's standing still. You know,
Yeah.
it's like a Ferrari or a Corvette or something.
I don't know. It's weird. So I definitely that. I think I'd probably do 308 for
Classic choice.
and just I'm covered for the elk. I'm covered for like the bigger animals, but you know, if I see a coyote, it's gonna get blown apart. But I'm not gonna feel bad about it either,
Nope.
Every hunt turns into a coyote hunt when you see a coyote.
dude. Except for when you're in Nebraska with Seth, and I see a couple of them, and I'm like, I got that itch, like you know,
the deer numbers are kind of down where we were, like you know, so
yeah,
I don't blame you for that.
yeah.
Hold off on the coyote. Wait till the deer's dead.
So I haven't shot 22 arc yet. I love 5.56, but I love the AR platform.
course.
So it would have to be something that comes out of the AR platform.
Okay.
So probably 22 arc,
yeah.
but I love that 22 Creedmoor as well. I don't know.
There's room for both.
Yeah. 6.5 Grendel. Is it? Do people? I mean, is it getting surpassed?
I'm sure it is to some degree, but it's still a very viable and very useful cartridge. I think in the 6.5 diameter, those bullets are just heavy enough that they stifle the velocity, so you end up with not quite as good of wind and performance, and they sink like a stone compared to some of the other hot rods out there. But for pigs and deer and stuff, it's so capable.
Yeah.
I think the newer stuff, though, the ARC family specifically, will probably edge it out if they already haven't.
I know a lot of people that use the 6.5 Grendel for hog
There's a whole
hunting.
forum for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it
there's a cult following.
really, like, in Texas, that's a lot of people use it.
So that was one of the things, like, Sam and I constantly feel like we have an issue because we go hog hunting, but a hog hunt can be a coyote hunt very fast,
Yeah.
or a coon hunt, or if we see a bobcat, you sure as heck we're shooting that, but I don't want to blow up the pelts, but I want to have enough power to knock down that 300-pound hog in case we run across it.
Yeah.
And you can't carry all these different guns on your back or on a tripod at night, you know. So in that regard, what would you be going with?
If I had to be concerned about pelt damage, I'm going to get very specific here.
Yeah.
It would be a 6mm arc loaded with a 90 grain CX bullet.
Oh, interesting.
I'm going to have 2 holes likely on a Bobcat.
Yep.
But they won't be huge
Right,
likely.
right. That's why I was interested in the 300 blackout with the 110.
Yep.
Because, you know, it won't destroy a pelt, but you're going to get that penetration on that hog.
Yep.
And you don't have to worry about shooting at long range either.
Right, no.
But the problem is if you see a cat holding up on the other side of your field at 250, are you going to be able to reach out and touch it?
I've done my testing. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
The computer says I can. That's what I mean, when I was a tech, I did all that information. I played with the 300 blackout. It's a viable 300-yard load.
Yeah.
I would say. Going to be more challenging than what I selected, but it can be done.
Right. I just recommend doing your testing.
Yep.
I think you could do something if you were dedicated. I'm on Preston's team where, let's just make it official. I'm going to send this thing out the other side, but I might do it with like a 22-250 or something and a 50 grain CX.
Interesting.
Golly, he's not wrong. I didn't even think about it.
My old man had a sub 200-yard shot, 6mm Remington, shooting 58s or 75 VMAXs. I'm not sure which. At Mock Jesus, did not exit. It hit. Those things are. I mean, we're talking like 4,000 feet per second, and that thing turned into a hand grenade. If you could do it in slow motion, I bet the darn Bobcat inflated to like a beach ball and then collapsed down really hard, but the bullet did not exit. And the hide turned out really nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, or the fur turned out nice.
So your chambering that you were talking about, does Hornady offer that off the shelf, or is that a reload?
I think we do now, don't we?
Which one?
Or
the 90 grain CX?
Not factory ammo. Not yet. I don't know.
Not yet. Maybe we will.
Yeah, I'm going to be a squeaky wheel for it. I think it's definitely a thing. The 22 arc does have a CX option. It's the 70 grainer. So that might be something.
And that 90 grain CX is one of those ones in the calibers that we've done that has a very, very long shape, high BC, compared to a traditional CX.
Interesting. See, this is all stuff like you don't have conversations like this at the gun store when you're like, oh, crap.
Probably not.
Yeah, what do I do? But when we're out in the field, it's like, dude, we're undergunned. Or I don't want to blow this pelt up because I've been hunting forever and I want to kill a bobcat. That's my bucket list item, and I don't want it blown apart.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. So this is good. What factory? So you're saying if you're going to do pig and down, you're going with the CX bullet, accepting 2 holes, but not an explosion.
Exactly, because like in that example I gave you about my old man shooting a 6 Remington, the exact opposite could have happened. And if that bullet had exited, it would have looked like a softball. You have a volleyball-sized animal with a softball blown out the other side. It can get really messy when those bullets hold together just enough, and you have all those fragments coming out. So I think get a bullet that is going to expand, but not going to send itself into hand grenade mode. Right? Those CXs will peel back; they'll transfer energy, but your exit hole will very likely be extremely small. I mean, it'll be a little larger than your entrance hole, but not much.
Interesting.
Dude. I think we have a factory offering with a 50 grain CX. I think it's in 223.
223 Superformance. So it'll give you about that. Yeah, give you that high velocity.
So if you made me pick a factory option, that's probably the one.
If you don't want to have to go buy an AR upper for a special chamber,
load,
you just off the shelf, got it, ready to rock. That's awesome. Well, fellas, what's the plan for tonight?
Go to bed early. I got a big event, and it's bedtime.
Yep.
Preston
went to bed early the other night. I was like, oh.
Don't tell anybody that, but yeah, it was glorious.
Sammy and I were going to a Cryptech party for Green Beret Foundation.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Excited for that, so we'll see it. Thanks for coming on the show, fellas.
Yeah, thanks for having us, getting us out of our booth. Nice, comfy chairs. This has been great.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
I love it. Sam, is there any question that if you're like, I need to know about some ammo, some reloads, any of that, you got the guys here?
No, man. I've been shooting those arrow shot them in a match last weekend, consistent.
Excellent.
They did everything I wanted to do. You know, it's funny how y'all were saying y'all don't have to change your load. I didn't change anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
make it true.
All I did seat them a little bit deeper, but I got no variance.
yeah.
I mean, shot two 10-ground groups, liked it, didn't change nothing. Velocity was where it needed to be. Shot a 20, put the ag in, everything looked good, sent it.
Heck yeah, that's what we like to hear.
Yeah,
It was
no
good.
kidding. Shooting
I enjoyed
105s.
them. Yeah, they were great.
I love Sam.
He does a lot of research, doesn't he?
He sure does.
I do. I geek out
We
on
really
it.
could
Sound
have an
like I
auction
did when I was in
syndicate.
tech,
You know,
man. Like,
Yeah, it's just
we got the
I
voices.
wanna
we
know,
got the auctioneer. We
so
got
that's just
the
what you
hat.
do.
Like, we could do auctions.
Dude, it's dangerous. Dangerous. All right, fellas. Thank you so much. Guys, Hornady Ammo, they're the leader. They're awesome. I shoot it. They shoot it, obviously. Like, I saw a couple times. No, I'm just kidding. I rolled into deer camp with another brand. They almost threw me out. Just kidding. Anyways, go check them out. Check out the new chamberings, the calibers, the bullets, all that. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Go check out Hornady Podcast. Biggest platform for you guys is YouTube, right?
100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're
So-
available anywhere podcasts are found, but man, YouTube has been a good platform for us.
I love it. Remember, mentorship is conservation. You can never outgive good. I'm Johnny Mack, Flatland Sam, Preston and Seth in the house here at SHOT Show from the Huxworks booth. Be blessed, freedom on, stay soulful.
If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.